Season 5 of Superior Angling TV is brought to you by Holden Insurance Agency and the rest of our fabulous sponsors.
Good morning and welcome to this episode of Superior Angling. We are doing something totally different today. It is kind of the dead of winter. You know, early ice is come and gone. Your fish are starting to transition a little bit deeper. Your walleyes get a little bit more lethargic. It's just kind of that time of year where everything kind of slows down. But today we are going to heat things up and chase a species that's a little bit more unconventional through the ice. What are we doing, Hayes?
We're chasing largemouth bass. So you don't hear of people doing that too often, but we have a lot of lakes in the area here, with a lot of largemouth in them, and hopefully we can stumble upon, a decent bass bite on shallow weed flats. We're gonna have tip ups. We're gonna be jigging.
I'm excited. It's going to be a fun day because largemouth can provide a ton of excitement. I think they really school up in the wintertime and nobody else fishes for them. Spring, summer, fall, people are all about largemouth, but winter, there's no anglers out there chasing these fish. So I don't know. I think we've identified an area that has potential to hold a ton of fish, and we're going to get out there and kind of see what happens throughout the day. But as Hayes said, we're going to put out some iFish Pros. We're going to jig. But first, we have to go in and get some good bait. We need good baits under iFish Pros, lively minnows, and to attract those bass in. And hopefully, we're going to put some fish topside. So stick with us. It's going to be a good one.
When you're out on the ice chasing these largemouth, it's important to pick a good minnow. I like a nice hardy sucker, right around the 3-inch range. Looks something like that. It's not too big where it'll kind of get stuck in the weeds, but it's kind of that perfect in-between size for these bass. Just putting that on a small treble hook with a couple split shot, and hopefully that'll get the job done. We're going to get a couple dozen of these, and we'll see you on the lake.
All right, we have arrived at the spot, a nice little snowmobile ride out here. But one of my favorite part about chasing largemouth through the ice is that you don't need to be out here in the dark. You don't need to stay out here after dark to catch these fish. Largemouth on most days, they're gonna bite throughout the day. So it's a great species to chase if you have kids or you're just looking for consistent, constant, all day action. And we're gonna see some pike, we might see a walleye or two, we might, some panfish. You just don't know what you can catch out here, but the primary target today is largemouth, just an underlooked species of fish through the ice. You see this lake, it's loaded with bass. There's nobody out here right now. So and I bet very, very, very few people actually chase largemouth on these lakes in the wintertime. So we're gonna get some rods rigged, get some holes drilled to get some lines in the water, and hopefully see our first bass before too long.
All right, so throughout the year, we rely heavily on set lines, and this is the setup for an iFish Pro, being the slip stop, sinker, and a treble hook. So a very, very easy setup, and we don't want to get super technical with it, but I like to use a bit of a heavier split shot to kind of hold that bigger, shiner or, medium-sized sucker, like we said before, 3-4-inch minnow in place. Again, that small treble hook is going to allow you to have better hookups, than a single hook. We've got a 7-pound fluoro leader. This is gin clear water, and this setup should handle the fish nicely. And let's put some topside.
All right, so we're drilling a bunch of holes, and again, we don't want to make this seem too technical because it's not, but it's a very good idea to drill a bunch of holes and then take an underwater camera and stick it down the hole and just to see what you're looking at. Again, we kind of want to be in the weeds, but we don't want to be in super heavy weeds, because our minnow, once we put it down there on the iFish Pros, is just going to swim and get wrapped around the weeds, and it's not going to be natural. So we want to find a hole that has, you know, sporadic weeds around it, but it's just a really good idea to, you know, drill 15-20 holes, take an underwater camera, walk around, mark the holes that look good to you on the camera, because, you know, that's going to help you put more fish on the ice.
All right, so we're getting our first iFish Pro set here with a shiner minnow. We've identified a hole that's 10 foot of water. Right behind me there's some tall cabbage. So we're gonna drop this minnow down and get this flag set. Now with these bass and pike and all the other game fish up in these shallower weeds, you wanna, you know, keep that bait off the bottom a little bit. A lot of the fish's comfort zone is either right cruising the tops of those short weeds, you know, down there maybe 6 inches up from the bottom. So you want to keep that bait up a couple of feet, giving those fish some room to find it. And yeah, we'll get this tip up set.
There we go. Here we go, baby. Here we go. Got him. Fish on. Fish on. Oh, he's digging. He's digging. Largies, man. Largies. You got to have kind of a tighter drag to keep them out of the weeds, but at the same time, you don't want to pull the hook. Right there. That is the way to start the morning. What a fish, huh? Chunky largemouth on a late January day when so many other species of fish just get so lethargic this time of year. They're starting to move to deeper water. They're harder to find. You know, these largemouth, if you can locate where they're at, and we'll talk a little bit more about location, you can have an absolute heyday. But that is a beautiful, beautiful largemouth. Let's get it back down. There's more down there.
Got another flag here. This is a big shiner, so I'm kind of letting him eat it a little bit. See if we'll reel down and we'll watch that rod tip there. Get that thing fully loaded. That fish doesn't feel it. Doesn't feel it. Doesn't feel it. I mean, I can still let him eat it, and I can hit him just like that. That's awesome.
I would not want to be in the receiving end of your hook set.
Got to swing hard.
Down in the weeds?
Yeah, down in the weeds. A lot of times you just give them some, you know, that's again why we use those leaders. Just give them a little bit of force and you can break them free. Feels like a good one. Yeah, nice bass.
It's a good fish, man.
Nice bass.
Oh,
come here.
That's a jumbo.
Awesome. Look at that. Nice largie.
We put a big
Look
minnow.
At that minnow. Look at that.
Choked.
Choked.
Choked. That is so cool, man. Look at that. I mean, these are quality largemouth. I mean, even catching that in the summertime on a, you know, 7-foot heavy bass rod would be fun. We're doing it on lightweight ice rods. Like, it's an absolute blast.
Yeah, these guys put up a heck of a fight, and they're pretty easy to access, and they're definitely underlooked species in the wintertime. Let's tuck this one back and talk location. We're going to talk about location. Up the hole, I brought some nice coontail and green cabbage. So in a lot of these northern natural lakes, in the fall of the year, a lot of weeds die off. And so what happens is in the winter time, if you can go out and locate green healthy weeds like we have here, there's going to be a lot of fish that inhabit them. That could be crappie, bluegill, bass, pike, walleye. And you know, that goes for a lot of these lakes, clear water. And a lot of times, honestly, you know, when you're fishing in weeds like this, you can experience a bite all day long. You know, if we were out on a rock bar fishing for walleyes or what have you, the bite may only be in the morning or in the evening for a short period of time, but there's a lot of cover up here. A lot of the fish take advantage of it, and you can experience a great bite all day long.
Oh, we're gonna get destroyed. Oh my God. We just got inhaled. We just got inhaled by a largie. Ready? Got him. That is so cool, man. The Pursuit HD Markham underwater camera makes this type of fishing so fun. I was sitting there literally just looking at the monitor and saw this bass come in and absolutely destroy it. I mean, the Pursuit HD, it's a true 1920 by 1080 image sensor, so you're gonna get a great HD picture on a 5-inch LCD screen. It just makes fishing out here so much more fun. And if you have kids, you know, they can sit there and watch that underwater camera all day long and see all these fish that swim by. Oh, and these fish put up such a fight. Such a fight. You just gotta try to keep them out of the weeds. That's a big bass. Oh, that's a big one. He's stuck right on the bottom of the hole. Look at this fish. Look at that fish. Oh, that's a giant. Oh, how much fun. You just can't beat largemouth on the ice for just an action-packed day. Look at that fish. That'd be more than, you know, I'd be ecstatic catching that in the summertime on a big heavy rod, and here we are on ice rods. I mean, what a day. How much fun is this? Absolute blast. Beauty. I love it. There you go, big girl. Man, is that fun. So again, we're just using split shots and a small treble hook with either a sucker minnow or shiner minnow. Now, one trick that you can do is, you know, you don't want your minnow to swim into the weeds. And as you know, as we've been mentioning, we want to be around weeds, but we don't want our minnows to swim into them. So what I do is kind of double up on split shots and put them down closer to my hook. Because when this bait is down there in the water, you know, our line's going to be coming down like this. That minnow, he's going to want to swim up. If I have two weights closer to this hook, it's a shorter leash for him. He can't go, you know, he can't go far. If I have my weights, you know, if I have a longer leader like that, this minnow just has so much more room and freedom to swim up, swim away, and get in those weeds. So really kind of shorten your distance from your split shots to your hook, and that's going to make your minnow not be able to swim as far and get tangled in the weeds. And yes, this is very clear water, and the bass don't care about split shots. Like, we've seen them on the underwater cameras come up and eat these. Like, they, you know, they don't care at all. They're not split shot shy whatsoever. So, you know, shorten the lead from your split shot to your hook. You know, keep that 6-7 inches, and I think you're going to catch more fish. All right, now let's kind of talk about location, because location is truly everything when it comes to winter largemouth. You know, if we're talking smallmouth, you want to be on deep rock piles, you know, kind of in the basin. If you have a, you know, 20-30 foot hump out in the basin of a lake with rocks, that's where your smallmouth are going to be. But largemouth are totally different. You know, if you have a big shallow lake with weeds throughout the whole lake, they could be difficult to locate. But if you have a lake that's, you know, relatively deep water, and you have some shallower kind of bays with little depressions in them with weeds, that's where you want to look, because that's kind of where we are today, and it's just loaded in here. So, you know, know, like your shallow lakes, there's weeds everywhere. I mean, there's bass everywhere as well, but it can just be so hard to find those high concentrations of fish. If you have a lake, you know, like this lake that we're on today is ideal because out in front of us here, there's so much water out there that's 30, 40, 50 feet. But where we are here, it's just kind of a shallow bay, and it's all, you know, 10, 11, 12 feet back here with a little dip down, a little depression with weeds, and that's where those bass are holding. So again, location is truly everything. You know, just look at a lake map, find some, you know, a bay that may have weeds in it, really focus on that, find some little bit deeper water, utilize an underwater camera, move until you find fish, and you know, you can truly have a blast catching largemouth all day long.
So the iFish Pros today are keeping us real busy. We're not having much time to jig, but if you're out on the ice, you know, looking for winter largemouth, I'll share with you 3 of my favorite setups. The first is going to be like an airplane style lure, like a jigging wrap. I would throw a ripping wrap or a slab wrap in this category as well. A search bait. The jigging motion you're going to want to use is real light. You know, you don't want to rip it too hard. Those fish will just kind of come up, and bass bite pretty light through the ice, so they'll just kind of kiss the bait, and I'll tip that with wax worms or a minnow head. The second thing would be just a smaller spoon, like a, oh, we got a flag it looks like. We'll go grab that. Let that rod load up, and just lift right into them. Feels nice. Yep, nice. Chunky little largemouth there. Sweet, hooked right in the top of the mouth. Perfectly. Got a little weeds on them. Nice, you know, 2.5 pounder. That's been, you know, our average today. Quite nice fish. Let's toss this thing back, reset this tip up, and go over and continue talking about our jigging setups. And as I was saying before I got interrupted by that bass, the second thing would be a smaller spoon. That could be like a forage minnow, VMC rattle spoon. I mean, it really doesn't matter. As long as it's like a 1/16 or 1/8 ounce, I like to tip that with a minnow head or wax worms. And then my third presentation would be just like your classic panfish presentation, a small tungsten jig in plastic, or in this case, wax worms. Works well when they're being very picky, or they're kind of coming up to these 2 presentations I showed you before and aren't eating them. This is kind of my third favorite one to put bass topside. But have all these lures in your arsenal this winter, and you're going out chasing bass, and you should find success.
Another thing that you can do to help prevent your minnow from getting in the weeds is, you know, we talked about putting the split shot closer to your hook, but secondly is what you can do, we're gonna find a nice big shiner here. You know, so like this minnow, I mean, that's a pretty good size shiner. It's, you know, they have a lot of power. So what we're gonna do is just take some scissors and just kind of trim his tails like that, so he can't, you know, he's not going to have as much power and as much thrust and be able to swim around and get in the weeds. Because once these minnows get in the weeds, I mean, they're done. They're not going to get eaten by a bass. We've been watching on the underwater cameras too. If your minnow is just sitting there, if the minnow's kind of dead, your bass aren't going to eat it. You need a minnow that's swimming to try to get away from the fish, but if that minnow swims too much or too hard, it's going to get wrapped around a weed and a bass isn't going to eat it. So, you know, it's always nice to keep a pair of scissors on you too, and you can trim that tail, and it just kind of prevents him, you know, takes maybe 5 horsepower off his 25 horsepower motor he's got, and that's going to keep him under your hole and out of the weeds. This is on that big shiner minnow that we cut the tail off of, and it pays off. It pays off. It's just fun to see something that you do that 100% has a direct correlation to you catching more fish.
Oh yeah. What do you got?
I don't know. That was that sounded a little pikey. This is a big shiner minnow too.
This is a good sign, because it seems like we've been having waves of fish come in. You know?
Yep, there's waves for sure. You'll have 3, 4, 5 flags in 10 minutes and then a little lull, and then they pick back up, and this feels like a good one, man. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Green. Yeah, the green machine. The green machine.
The green machine. Here he comes. Oh,
that's a big one, man.
Giant, dude.
Oh, look at that fish. That is a beast. Absolute
Mega.
beast. That's a huge largemouth,
Let me
man.
get you the forceps.
Even in the summertime, like this would be a trophy. I mean, I'm not a huge bass guy, but I love to catch them, and that is a very, very, very special fish right there. Look at that thing. And he just choked that shiner minnow. That there, man, that's the fish of the day. Awesome largemouth. Beautiful. Let's get this thing back. Down she goes. That water is clear. Oh, is that cool? And it's even more fun to see those bites on the Markham underwater cameras. Here we go. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh yeah, there we go.
Got him.
That is a fish on. What a fun day we've had here catching largemouth. I mean, there's just no stop to these fish. It's just, I don't know if we lucked out or what, but we just had a day, this constant, consistent action ever since we got out here. I mean, it's been an absolute blast. It's a fun way to change up the winter.
Nice green one.
You know, do something.
Oh.
That's a big one.
Beauty.
Do something a little bit different and get out here and, you know, just, I don't know, it's just, I don't know why more people don't do this, because it's an absolute riot. Especially if you have kids, or, you know, you and your buddies are just looking to put a ton of fish on the ice in one day. This is fun.
Yeah, pound for pound they fight just as good as a
Don't they?
walleye, a
I
pike,
mean,
anything, man.
It's incredible.
It's definitely an underutilized fish, and something that you should take advantage of, because a lot of natural lakes where we're at have tons of largemouth in them. So
yeah. I'm going to be doing this more often, because, I mean, we've had an absolute blast today on the ice catching largemouth in late January when a lot of other species of fish slow down. So yeah, we gotta do this every year, buddy. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, pick a lake. It's got a lot of weeds. It's clear. You know, find these big weed flats, and look for depressions in them, and you will be quick on your way to putting some bass topside. So
weeds, largemouth, winter. I love it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.